So we are talking about direct and indirect proportions. So we say that direct proportions is when two quantities are related in such a way that when one quantity increases, the other quantity also increases. And when one quantity decreases, the other quantity also decreases. While indirect proportionals means inverse, or it's vice versa. When one increases, the other one decreases. So that's what I want us to talk about first, to differentiate between direct and indirect proportions. Okay, so we are here talking about direct proportion. Think about direct proportions. Okay, so now under direct proportion we say, so we have quantity A, okay, quantity A and quantity B. So when A goes up, okay, when A goes down, B also goes down. Okay, and when quantity A, quantity B again, when A goes up, B also goes up. All together, that is direct proportionals. So for example, let me give you an example of this, a problem like this. Two breads will cost, two bread will cost Namibian dollar 24 or 26. How much will four or three bread, three bread cost? Okay, so three bread cost how much? So three bread cost, so you see that when the number of bread costs, the price also increase. So that is what, and when the number of bread decreases, the price also decreases. That means that is direct proportional. Okay, so when we talk of direct proportional, we also learn that we can solve, for example, this question. Okay, how to solve these questions? We cross multiply. Okay, to solve, you must what? Cross multiply. Okay, so for example, I'm gonna solve this problem. So what we have is this, that now you have bread and cost. So you have number of bread and you have cost. So two bread will cost exactly $26. Three bread, you don't know, it's X. So when I mean cross multiply, I mean this, that what you do here, you cross multiply like this. So you can have 2x is equal to 3 times 26. Then you divide both sides by 2. Now if you have to calculate that, you can see that 3 times 26 is what? Is 60, then is 18. So it's 78. Then you divide 78 by 2. Okay? So x is equal to 78 divided by 2 is equal to what? I believe 78 divided by 2 should be 44. 30, it should be 34, because 78 divided by 2, 39. Okay, so that means $39. So that means 3 bread will cost $39. You see, that's the most simplest one. We just simply cross multiply. Now let's look at what? At indirect proportional. Okay, let's look at indirect proportional. So let's look at indirect proportionals. So here we say indirect proportional. It has another name. It's called inverse. It's also called what? Inverse. It's also called inverse. Okay. So now, so we are talking of quantity A and quantity B. Quantity A again and quantity what? And quantity B. So that means when one goes down, the other one goes up. And when one goes up, the other one goes down. Are we together? So that is about indirect. So now, let me give you a question here. 4 men can build a house in 20 days. How long will it take 6 men working at the same rate? Meaning, how long it will take 6 men to build the same house working at the same rate? You see, that's how the question is. Now, how will you solve here now? How will you solve here? Now here, to solve, we do what? We straight multiply, okay? To solve, we straight multiply. Here to solve this, we must straight multiply, okay? So let's look at that problem. Now I want you to use your reasoning, your understanding. They say 4 men can build a house in 20 days. How long will it take 6 men working at the same rate to out together? So if you use your reasoning, you can see that 4 men will take 20 days out together. Then 6 men will take more days, or more or less days. That's the question now. So if these men, they are all working at the same speed, it means that the 6 men will take few days. Yes or no? The 6 men will take few days. So that means if you increase the number of men, the number of days decreases. If you reduce the number of men, the number of days increases. That's why we say these quantities are inversely or indirect, or you can say they are oppositely direct proportional. All together. So now let's solve this problem. So you have men and you have days. So we say that 4 men can take exactly how many days? 20 days. And we say 6 men, we don't know how many days. Now let's out together. So let's go ahead and what? Cross multiply, and you will see what will happen. Cross multiply. Okay, so you will have 4x equal to 6 times 20. Then you divide by 4, divide by 4. Then you will have x is equal to, now let's calculate that on the calculator. So we have 6 times 20 divided by what? Divided by 4. Then you get 30 days. 30 days. Now this thing is saying that 6 men will take 30 days. Now the question is, does that make sense? I will ask again, does that make sense? You can see that it does not what? It does not make sense. 4 men take 20 days, 6 men take what? Take 30 days. It does not make sense. Are we together? That's why in here we don't what? We don't cross multiply. We don't what? We don't cross multiply. Don't cross multiply here. You understand? In indirect proportional, we don't cross multiply, but we straight multiply. Are we together? Instead, what we are gonna do, we are not gonna cross multiply. What we're gonna do, we are gonna straight multiply. What do I mean straight multiply? I mean like this and like this. Then you multiply, you multiply. That means you're gonna say 6x is equal to 4 times 20. 4 times 20. Then you divide by 6. Divide by 6. Then you have x is equal to, then you say 4 times 20. I mean 4 times 20 divided by 6. Then you get something like 13.3 days. Now that makes sense because 6 men must take few days or fewer days. Okay, that's the first that's the first difference between direct and indirect proportionals. But it's also important for you to understand how their graph looks like. So that means there's a graph for direct proportional. So a graph is normally like this, remember? Okay, also this one like this also, whereby this one is our what? Our y axis, this one is our x axis, this one is also y axis, this one is also x axis. Now let's say we're talking about that means the cost depend on the bread. Okay, so the bread is here. So bread is here on this side and the cost is on this side. Same story here. Days depend on the number of what? Of men. So men is here and the days are here. Okay, so now this graph normally will go like this. Straight, it's a straight line graph from the center going like that all together. While this graph, it is not, it's gonna go like this. It's gonna be a graph like that. Okay, so that's the difference between a inverse proportional graph and the direct proportional graph. Okay, that's the first part of this video, is to learn to differentiate between what? Direct and indirect proportionals. Remember that when one goes indirect, when one quantity goes up, the other quantity also goes up. In inverse, when one quantity goes down, the other one goes up. They are like they act in the opposite direction. Okay. Now the second part of this lesson is what they are normal most likely to ask us in our examinations. It's called direct and indirect proportionals using the constant method or forming an equations altogether. Direct and indirect proportionals, forming an equations altogether. So like we are gonna look at the second one in the second examples there. Okay, so we're gonna look in the second example. So let's first talk about direct proportionals. Okay, in fact, let's just talk about what about both at the same time. So I'm going to underline here. One part is for direct, one part is for inverse. So what are we going to do? Okay, so direct proportional forming or using an equation. Inverse means indirect inverse proportional using an equation. This thing, the one of making an equation, is very important. Okay, because it's mostly likely to be in examinations. The first part, that first part is normally for lower grade, like grade 8 and especially grade 9. But now this part is for our level, grade 11 level. So you must know this part. It's a must. You must know this part for you to be able to form any equations all together. So let's look at the question. Let's look at the question. The questions A or number 1. So question number 1, I'm gonna look for you equations. Okay, so you can see I wrote down some questions here. It says like this: y is directly proportional to x. If y is equal to 10 when x equal to 2, find the following. A, find the constant of proportionality. B, find the equation connecting y and x. C, find the value of y when x is equal to 7. D, find the value of x when y is equal to 45. Okay, so now we are gonna find the first one, and I believe this word must be new to some people. It says find the constant of proportionality. The constant of proportionality is we use the letter K to represent it. Okay, K means constant. A constant is a number that is always in the equation. It's a number that is always in the equation. So now, how do we find that constant of proportionality? If the question is directly proportional, we start off like this. Okay, so what are our two letters? Our two letters is x and y. They say y is, so y first. So we're gonna write y is directly proportional to, the best thing you can do is just put k in the constant and then put times what? Times x. It's better you start off that at that stage. Okay, then from there all you do is say, okay, y is equal to, so you can see that the proportionality, this is a proportionality symbols. It must what? Start off with what? It must start off with what? It's tend to a equal sign, and then you just have kx. Then from there you have to solve for k. How will you solve for k? You use the two values. They will always give you these two values. So they say when y is 10, so when y is 10, k you don't know, but x is what? X is 2. Now you are solving for k, then you divide both sides by 2 by 2. Then you can see that 2 and 2 cancel. Then you have k is equal to 5. Now you have found your constant of what? This one normally in exam, if they are asking to have 2 marks. So you have found your constant of proportionality. Are we together? Now say find the equation connecting y and x. So here I want you to be careful. Find the equation connecting y and x. I want you to be careful. So what do they mean? You see this equation. You see this equation, this one. That equation is exactly the one you are gonna put there. Except in this case, you know the value of k. Replace k with its value. Leave the y and the x as letters. Only the k must be replaced. So only the k must be replaced. Okay, k is there. Now just replace k with it, the value that you found. Y is equal to 5x. Now in that case you have your equation. Now you can see that y and x must stay as letters. K must be replaced in as a number, because k is a constant. That means it's always in that formula, and that is your formula, or that is your equation. Now in C, you can see they will say find the value of y when x is equal to 7. Now at this stage you simply use what? Use your formula. Your formula is what? Y is equal to 5x. Okay, 5x. Now y is equal to 5x. Then at that stage what you do? So they say find y when x equal to 7. So you have y equal to 5. X must go inside the bracket, which is now a 7. Then you have a value of what? 35. That means y is 35. And then this one normally will be a 1 mark question. So it's a 1 mark question. Okay. And then lastly, also is similar to C. It says find what? Find the value of x when y is 45. So y is equal to 5x. But in this case, you know what? You know y. So y is what? 45 is equal to 5x. Now you are solving for x. We have to divide both sides by what? By 5. By 5. So if you work out the calculator, you can see that x is equal to 9. And then this one is also a 1 mark question, and then you are done. So this is what you do. Okay, if you don't understand, you can repeat the video and then you can understand. Okay, all right. So now let's look at what questions that are based on what? The same question, but this question is what? Inverse proportional. Okay, but this question is what? Is inverse proportional. So we'll continue in a few minutes. Okay, let's proceed with this question. Okay, number 1 says y is inversely proportional to what? To x when y is 6, x equal to 7. Find the constant of proportionality. I already say the constant of proportionality is what? Is k. Okay, so how do you find it? Now when it comes to inverse, you don't start off the same as like direct, and you may ask what's the difference. This is now the difference. With inverse you say y is inverse proportional to 1 over, you can now even put k there, k over, okay, k over x. You can just start from there, k over x. You can see here the k was in the first one, k was multiplied into x, but here k is divided by x. That's the difference. Okay, so what you do is that you say, then you're gonna say that means y is equal to k over x. This is already your equation, but you just have to work out your value of k. And in this point, the question is just asking us to find first k. Then you put the value that they give you. They say when y is 6, k over x 7. Now you can see you have a fraction here. And what about this side? You also have a hidden fraction. Just make it average by putting a 1 there. Then to solve for that in mathematics and the science, when we have one fraction on the left hand and one fraction on the right hand, what you do, simply cross multiply. Simply do what? Cross multiply. Then from there, what you're gonna do, you're gonna have something like 6 times 7, which is what? 6 times 7 is 42. So that means then you also have y times k. So that means k is equal to 6 times 7, which is what? 42. Again, this will be 2 mark. Okay, next question. Find the equation connecting x and y. Find the equation connecting x and what? X and y. So how are you going to do that? Find the equation connecting x and y. So it's the same thing. I already say that this is your equation. From the beginning already you have your equations. Not that one, but the one with the equal sign. That's your equation already. So just write it, but now in this case you know the value of k. So work out your value of what? Work out your value of k. Y is equal to k now you know is 42 divided by x. This is your equation. This also will be 2 mark. This will be 2 mark. Okay, so and then finally in this case find the value of x when y is 14. Now you start off by writing your equation. Y is equal to 42 over x. Then the question says find the value of x when y is 14. So you have 14 is equal to 42 over x. Now one fraction on the right hand, make a fraction on the other side, then simply cross what? Cross multiply. You can see you're gonna have 14 x is equal to 42. Then you divide both sides by 14 and then x is equal to 42 divided by 14. 42 divided by 14, you get 3. That means the value of x is equal to what? Is equal to 3. So then from there you are done. So that is the first questions on what? Direct and what? And indirect proportionals. Okay, direct and indirect proportionals. So but question can be different. Like now we're gonna look at different questions and the way we need to be careful. Okay, different questions and mix, and then we will, so that we can be able, and the way we need to be careful. Are we together? So in the next part we're gonna look at different, more difficult questions, but the basic is the same. You find the k, you find the equations, you solve whatever they're asking for you in 3 stage, and you are sorted. Okay, so you find what? You find the, okay, let's move on. Okay, so this is the question we are having here. It says like this. Okay, it's given that d is inversely proportional to what? To the square root of m. When m is equal to 9, d is equal to 64. Find the equation connecting d and m, and find the value of m when d is 32. So in this case they already give you the informations, so you're just gonna follow and do answer the question. What you can do now, you can try answering this question on your own, and then you can that means pause the video, answer the questions on your own. I recommend that for everyone, and then you again continue the video and see how we have answered it. Okay, so let's start. So find the equation connecting D and M. So what am I looking for? I'm looking at the key point. This is my keyword here. Inverse proportionals. So if it's inverse proportional, and my two letter is what? My two letter is D and M. So I'm gonna say D is equal to, if you want, you can start off like this. D is equal to, if you want, you can even do everything here, like 1 over square root of M, and then from there D is equal to, or if you want, 1 over some book and some people, they will start off like that, and then you put also the value of what, and now you replace 1 with K, then you will still put the same thing, and only then you can do this, change to equal sign, which is unnecessary. K over M. In fact, in examinations, I recommend you just start from here. I recommend you just start here to not to waste your time altogether, and it's even more easier. Okay, so these two are unnecessary as long as you know what you are doing. Okay, but now we have D. Then it says that when D is what? When D is 64, M is what? M is equal. When D is 64, M is equal to 9. So when D is 64, okay, you don't know, over the square root of 9. Okay, and then you make this one over 1. Then from there, work out the square root of 9 can be worked out. We know it's what? Square root of 9 is equal to 3 over 1. Then you cross multiply to solve for K. Although they did not ask for K, you have still to find K. Okay? Because then only then you can find your equations. So then you will have your 64 times 3, which is 100 and what? I think 100 and what? 109 something, maybe 192. Let me calculate. 64 times 3, 192. So K is 192. Then from there, you are not done. You have found K, yes. You score a mark, yes, but you are not done. The question asks you to find the equations. Which one is your equation? Already this one is your equation, but with just the value of what? Of K worked out is 192 over the square root of M. This is your equation. Then you have your another mark, sometimes even 3 mark for that. Okay, so we are done. And then B says this was A, and then B says find the value of M when D is 32. So find the value of M when D is 32. So now you are going to use your equations. So they already say D is what? 32. So 32 is equal to 192 and square root of M. You must understand that you can see that I have replaced, I was given D, so I replaced D with 32. Make it over 1 and cross multiply. So now you're going to have 32 times the square root of M. It's equal to 1 times 192 is just 192. Then you divide both sides by what? 32 by 32. Then what you have is this one and this one cancel, and then you have M is equal to, so you have 192 there, 192 divided by 32. Okay, then you get 6. You get 6. Okay, then now you want to get rid of what? Of that square root. Now to get rid of square root, we in mathematics we do like this. If I want to get rid of a square root, maybe I want to work out to get rid of the square root. I have a m. I must simply apply a square. Why? Because there's a 2 here, invisible 2 there. Now the 2 here and they cancel each other, leaving out a letter m only. Same as if I have a cube root. With m, and I want to get rid of the cube root, I must apply a 3. Now the 3 and cancel each other, then you have m alone. Now that is vice versa. Vice versa. That means in the case where I have what? M power 3 or m power 2, and I want to get rid of the 2, I must apply the square root, and then this one I can say to give me m. It's vice versa. Okay, that's the first part of this question is done. We're gonna look at a question that's also another question that's different. Okay, but this is the most important, is for you to know how to find that equations. All right, let's see. So you can see here we have equations. We're gonna choose from one of these questions. Okay, even the one that say okay, I want the direct proportional questions. P vary as the square root of q, and p is equal to 8. Okay, number 7, m is the cube of this radius. I want us to look at number 8. Number 8, okay? We're gonna look at number 8. We're gonna look at number 8. I want us to look at number 8. Okay, so yes, there we have our number 8 there. It says that the mass of the sphere vary with a cube of what? Of its radius. Okay, m is equal to 160 when r is equal to 2. Find m when r is 5. We are still gonna use the same method, but in this case they did not ask us the equation, they did not ask us anything. But for this complicated question like this, you have to go through the same process. You have to find your k, you have to find your equations, and you can now solve the problem. Are we together? I recommend you do that, because then you will not make a mistake. But in this thing, you always pay attention to word like. These words are very important. Maybe it's a cube or a cube root. Cube root. Cube simply means that it's a number power 3, and a cube root is, we all know a cube root like that. And a square also, especially square as well. Square and square root. Pay attention to those things, square and square root. So now what you have is this, that square is just m squared, and then the square root of what? Of m. Pay attention to this word. They are very, very important when you are dealing with direct and indirect proportionals. Pay attention to those words. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's move on. So first of all, remember, we must find what? We are gonna find the k. First the k, and the secondly is the equation, and then our third we now solve. What we, you see, for us to answer our question, we have to do two stages. Go through 2 stages. I mean 3 stages. Okay. So first we start off. They are what? Direct. Very direct. So m of the sphere, the mass of the sphere. So m is direct. So if you want to start off, you can start off here, but that's up to you. You can even start like this. Equal to the cube of its radius. Cube of its radius. So that means k is there times the radius power what? Power 3. So I recommend you to do that because this faster and you will just score the same mark. So and then now what you do, you can now simply say, okay, when m is 160, r is 2. So when m is 160, r is what? Times k, r is what? Is 2. So what I want you to do is that number, you must go inside the bracket. Don't put just a 2 there, put it inside the bracket and then work out. You can see that it's gonna give you like k times 8 and the 160. Then you divide both sides by what? By 8. So 160 by 8, I believe is 20. So k should be 20. So let's try. So 160 divided by 8 is 20. You see, you have now your equations. I mean, you have now your k. Now work out your equation. Your equation is already this one, just with the value of k worked out. So you just write m is equal to, what is k? K is 20 r power 3. 20 r power 3. Okay. Now that's our equations. Then from there, once you have your equation, you can now find m when r is 5. So you can now answer the questions. M is equal to 20 r power 3. Say find m. So it's 20. What's r now? 5. Put inside the bracket power 3. Okay. And then from there, you can work out your answer by pressing the calculator. 20 bracket 5 power 3. Then you have 2500. Okay, that is now the mass. That means the mass is 2500. And then you are done. Okay, so and then you are done. Most of you have this book. Okay, so you can see that you can now try out. You can now try out what? You can now try out those questions. Exercise 59, exercise 60, exercise 61. All these questions are based on direct and indirect proportionals. And what you do, you check your answer at the end of the textbook. If you have this book, most of you have this book, textbook. Okay, if you don't have, I recommend you must ask me so I can provide for you. It's important that you get this textbook. Okay, it will help you to go to do your activity. And this one is about rate. If you want to go practice on rate, that's up to you. Feel free. See you next time in the next video, guys. See you. Okay.